Hey, well, good morning, everybody. It is Coach RJ, CEO and founder of the Impact You movement. And our whole objective, our whole goal, our whole aim is to educate, to encourage, and to empower people with the tools necessary so that they can live out the best version of themselves. And I am excited, as always, to meet you every Wednesday morning from 8 to 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, 7 to 7:15 Central Standard Time, to bring you what I have called a moment of impact. And we do it every Wednesday morning because, we never know how our Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday have gone. And so we try to come on in the middle of the week to bring you something that will encourage you, that will inspire you, that will perhaps even push you to have a better finish to the week. You heard it said before, it's not always how you start, but it's how you finish. And this morning, I've titled our time together, our conversation together, with a simple question, and that is this: who are you? That's right. It is a simple question, but it's actually one that needs to be explored a little bit further. And, I started a new job back the middle part of December. And for those of y'all who've been around me any period of time, you know that I've been in sales and sales management, leadership development, coaching, all that kind of stuff. For probably the last 25 or more years, succeeded at pretty much every level, all these awards and whatnot. But I started a new job in December, and it has to be probably one of the toughest jobs that I've ever had. But one of the things that they do, and I've actually got a copy of mine, one of the things that they do when you start, they have you take what they call a predictive index. Here it is. Yeah, it's called the predictive index. And mine indicates that I'm a maverick. I am an innovative, outside the box thinker who is undaunted by failure. Now, that's what my predictive index said about me. But for the last, several months, things have not gone as well as I've wanted them to go. So I was talking to my boss the other day. We're having a conversation about, how things are going with my leads and, how I'm progressing. And I was expressing some frustrations to him. And so he sent an email to our human resources director and asked her for my predictive index. She sends it to him and he's staring. He's a little bit confused by it. And so she comes over and she says, well, again, as I said, my predictive index, his index, mine, indicates that I am a maverick, outside the box thinker, really undaunted by failure, just, really thrives in a fast paced moving environment. And my boss was a little confused because he says, well, that's really not, like, are you sure? Because that's not what he's doing. And she looked at me and I looked at her and we kind of laughed. And she said, well, what happens is, depending on, I'm bending over because I want to look at it. She said, depending on the environment, what happens is my synthesis, which is the last one, when you have a major event occur in your life, sometimes you have a tendency to not operate at like the best version of yourself. She says, oftentimes what'll happen is that life will put you in a position where you will start to, operate at this level where, you want to do what people, you want to live out and operate at a level that you think people will accept, as opposed to just being really you. And she said these words and it grabbed my attention. She said this, she says, but here's the thing about operating at the best version of yourself. She says, when we are the best version of ourselves, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. I want to pitch my tent there in my preacher voice, and I want to talk about that for just a minute. She says, when we are the best version of ourselves, there's nothing we cannot accomplish. And many of you all that are listening to me can honestly say that you're not operating at the best version of yourself. And here I am, the CEO and founder of the Impact You movement, where we educate, encourage, and empower people with the tools necessary so that they can operate at the best version of themselves. And I found myself not operating at my best version. It happens. It happens to all of us, even me. It happened to me. But it was a wake-up call. And so if we're going to operate at the best version of ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, how do we become the best version of ourselves and ultimately continue to operate at that level? And that's what I want to help you with this morning. So the question is, how do we become the best version of ourselves? And ultimately, how do we continuously operate at that level? Because here's the thing. It's one thing to know the best version of yourself. In other words, it's one thing to understand, what the best version of yourself is, but it's another thing to not only operate like that today, but to operate like that on a consistent basis. So if you and I are going to become the best version of ourselves, the first thing that we have to do is we have to have an honest assessment of where we are. So number one thing, we have to have an honest assessment of where we are. Here's the thing. You cannot improve upon something if you don't know where to start. Let me say that again. You cannot improve upon something if you don't know where to start. You cannot improve upon yourself if you don't know where to start. Listen to me carefully. You cannot expect to get better if you don't first know what you're working with. Yeah, I can't expect to get any better than what I am right now if I don't honestly assess what I'm working with. I have to be willing, that's the key word, to honestly assess, and then I have to admit to what I have assessed. I want to say that again. First of all, I have to be willing to honestly assess where I am, but then I have to admit to what I have assessed. See, the problem is twofold. Number one, many of us, we're unwilling to assess ourselves. But then for those of us who have assessed ourselves, we are unwilling to admit to what we have assessed. Ask yourself this question. How can I know that I am unhealthy if I'm unwilling to assess where I am or get on the scale or go take a physical? I have to honestly assess where I am. How do I know that I'm emotionally broken? How do I know? Well, I have to honestly assess myself. How do I do that? I got to go to a therapist. I got to talk to somebody. How do I know that my finances are in ruins, are in shambles? How do I know? I won't know unless I honestly assess my finances by getting a financial advisor. So if we're going to become the best version of ourselves and then continue to live a life at that level, we must honestly assess where we are. Listen to me carefully, and then admit to what we have assessed. See, here's the thing. Most people will not assess where they are because they're afraid they will have to admit to what they found to be true. Let me say it a little bit louder for the people in the back. See, most people are unwilling to assess where they are because they are afraid that they'll have to admit to what they have found. So what they will do is they will continue to meander through life. They'll continue to wander through life aimlessly and do whatever they want to do instead of assessing where they are so that they can operate at the best version of themselves. Hear me carefully. The best version of yourself, if you never assess, the best version of yourself will always be at arm's length, just out of reach, and it will never become your reality. I know it's a hard truth. It's a hard pill to swallow. Sometimes the best medicine doesn't taste good, but it's good for you. So if we're going to become the best version of ourselves and ultimately continue to operate at that level, number one, we must honestly assess ourselves. But the second thing is this. Once I've assessed myself and I admit where I am, then the next thing that I have to do is I have to make an investment in the best version of myself. Let me say that again. I can't just assess where I am and realize, okay, I'm not operating at the best version of myself. But once I tap into who that is, and I can only do that because of my assessment, then I've got to invest in that person. I've got to invest in that space. Hear me carefully. And I'm not talking about, listen, this is not an investment into the person that others think you are. This is not an investment in the person that others think you are, nor is this an investment in the one you want people to believe you to be. Let me say that again. I'm not suggesting that you make an investment in a person that other people think you are, or make an investment in the person that you want people to think you are, or that you've led people to believe. But I'm talking about making an investment into the person that you were created to be. So I started this job, and it's a sales job, and I'm not in a leadership role. I'm operating as a sales professional. So I'm picking up the phone, making calls daily. And when I started this job, they got scripts for us to follow, and I'm okay with scripts. But even as my predictive index shared, it says that I'm an outside the box thinker. But what was happening was I started making an investment in the person that I thought they wanted me to be. I started trying to emulate some of the people, that were here at the company, trying to present like them. And as a result, it stifled my growth as a sales professional. I know I'm talking sales, but I want to talk to somebody that's not in sales. I want to talk to somebody that's in a relationship. You're investing in the person that your significant other thinks you ought to be instead of the best version of yourself. I want to speak to that business owner that's investing in who people want you to be as opposed to who you were created to be. I want to talk to the athlete who's investing in the person that others, want you to be as opposed to the person that you were created to be. And as a result of my investment, I was investing, but I was investing in somebody that I'm not. How much time have you spent investing in somebody that you're not? And when you make the decision to invest into your authentic self, it's going to make some people uncomfortable because you're not the person that they thought you were. You're actually somebody better. It might even make you feel uncomfortable because you're not accustomed to doing that. I hope y'all are hearing what I'm saying. But there's no way that you'll ever reach your fullest potential without it. So how do I invest in myself? Let me give you 3 quick ways. First of all, you invest in yourself by what you read. Ask yourself, man, what am I reading? You invest in yourself by what you're watching. Man, what am I watching? What's taking up my time? Finally, you can invest in yourself by who you're listening to. Man, who am I surrounded by? So not only you become the best version of yourself by honestly assessing, but you continue to become the best version of yourself by investing in yourself. And finally, the final piece to the puzzle, because I don't just want to be the best version of myself today, March 24th, but I want to live out the rest of my life as the best version of myself. The final piece, you got this assessment, you got this investment, but the last piece is accountability. I can't stress this enough, guys. You need people in your life that will push you to be your most authentic version of yourself. And not just push you, but hold you accountable when you're operating in a different manner. Most people, they don't like accountability. Oh man, I don't have to. They don't like accountability. Because they feel like it's somebody trying to tell them what to do. No, accountability simply says, I've made a decision and I just want somebody to be able to help me along the way. Let me ask you something. Who's holding you accountable? If your answer is nobody, then you need to change that. Accountability allows you to stay within the rails. Now, I was driving to work this morning, and I'm wrapping up. I was driving to work this morning, and if you notice on the road, you have all kinds of accountability partners. Number one, you got the speed limit that holds you accountable. Number two, you have the dotted lines to hold you accountable. Number three, you also have police officers that are along the strip to hold you accountable. Guys, I love you, and I want you to have an amazing day, and I want you to have an amazing life. But let me just tell you, you'll never, ever get there without being the best version of yourself. You'll be just like everybody else who died and went into the graveyard, or that's buried in the graveyard, with gifts and talents and authenticity that you failed to put forth. But I refuse, for myself personally, to be another statistic that went to the grave and didn't live out the best version of himself. I hope you have an amazing day today. But above all, I hope you commit to honestly assessing yourself, investing in the real you, and seeking out accountability so that you can live out the best version of yourself. Because remember, when you operate at the best version of yourself, there's nothing that you cannot accomplish. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.